Hey, man, what's up? I'm back again on the Thursday here with the Locked On Jaguars podcast. We're going to talk about depth chart a little bit today, talk about the linebackers. We're also going to talk about this quote-unquote quarterback competition that I, along with everyone else, wants to end. And why is James Robinson listed on the depth chart as an or starter with Carlos Hyde? It bewilders me and probably everyone else associated with the team. But we got all that today here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Jaguars. Stand by.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are Locked On Jags, your daily Jacksonville Jaguars podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is going on, man, here on a Thursday? This is your man, Tony Wiggins, bringing it to you live, as we do all the time here on the Locked On Podcast Network and Locked On Jaguars here, your daily podcast, because it's your team every day. It's exactly what we do every day. We bring this podcast to you, and today's podcast is especially important because we're getting real close to the second game of the preseason where we're going to figure out what's going to happen with these quarterbacks and what's going to happen with the running backs and how the linebacker is going to play now that Joe Schobert's not in the picture. We're going to touch all three of those things today in segments 1, 2, and 3. I got to let you know that Rock Auto is an amazing selection, reliably low prices, place for you to get all the parts your car will ever need. You need to visit rockauto.com and tell them that Locked On sent you. Love me some Rock Auto. All right, man, let's get into the show. Let's talk about what we're going to really try to digest here today. First of all, when's the quarterback going? When's this so-called competition at the quarterback spot? When is it going to be over? I just nothing against Urban Meyer and whether he's trying to, I don't know what he's trying to do, show the team that, you know, the subjectivity is out of it, or, you know, give Gardner Minshew a fair shake like he told him he would, as a guy who has won some games in the National Football League. But look, you can see it on my face, man. Look, you took the job because of Trevor Lawrence. You drafted Trevor Lawrence. Ticket sales are probably through the roof because of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has all sort of endorsements and all of this stuff. Why don't you just play him? Name him the starter. Give him the keys to the ignition. Now, I know all of those things that I mentioned that happened because of T-Law, they're not going anywhere, and he's not going anywhere. And you don't have to start the future right away. If you have Alex Smith, you don't. If you're already a playoff team, you don't. But if you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, who are 1-15, and your incumbent quarterback is a guy who was a 6th-round pick, although he's won some games in the league, and he's shown that he can play Trevor. Give him the keys. What's the problem? What are you doing? I don't get it. Because, you know, all of that, we're going to take subjectivity out of it, and we're just going to play the best guy, and we're going to let guys win the job, and it's a competition. That's fine if you didn't pick him. That's fine if the chance to coach him wasn't the reason that you came back or came to the NFL. That's fine if the owner hadn't stood up and said, we finally got a chance to get a franchise quarterback. That's fine if you didn't say that it's about winning now. We ain't worried about the future. The problem is all of those things exist. What's the holdup? What's going on? I don't get it. And I don't understand, and no one else understands. And I know when Urban took over, I was happy. I say they needed a CEO. They needed a big time. They needed somebody like this. This is what they need. He's going to be more structured. He's a winner. I still believe all of that stuff. I saw a little article that says that his tenure has gotten off to a rocky start, and it means he probably won't be. I don't subscribe to all of that. Not at all. Not one bit. My issue is that just because I felt that way and I still feel that way about him does not mean that he is above criticism or that I was going to just sit here and be some kind of fanboy and just understand and accept every single thing that they did. And I don't think you should do that either. Because you know what? You have the struggle equity as a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars for you to say, not happening on my watch. Now, I know it's like, well, you've been patient all of those years with all of those bad organizations and bad coaches, and you don't have no patience for Urban? No, we don't. Sorry. It doesn't work like that. You don't get, watch this. If a guy gets cheated on in his marriage, right, and he put up with it and he tried to make it work and it didn't work, right? And he put up with it for years and years and years, or vice versa. If a woman gets cheated on in a marriage and she put up with it for years and years and years and years and years, and they both finally end up out of their respective situations. When they remarry, they don't have the patience to deal with that again from the second person. No, just because they did it one time, they learned from it. Jaguar fans have learned too. That's a crazy analogy, but that's the one I felt like using. So in my other job, I talk a lot to couples. Well, I don't talk to them together. I talk to them one at a time. You know, I listen and I hear this stuff. You run out of patience. Sometimes somebody ruins, they use all of your patience and you don't have any more for anybody else. Jaguar fans are probably like that. You don't have another 4 or 5 years to sit around here and hope things get better. Do you? I don't think so. The people I talk to don't sound like that they're willing to sit here and wait for 4 or 5 more years because they've shown the capacity to wait 4 or 5 years in the past, or in this case, they've shown the capacity to kind of wait 21 out of 25 years for something good to happen, and it never does. So that's why it's like, are you kidding me? You mean to tell me the guy that y'all said was a generational talent isn't good enough to come in here on the first day and get the keys from a 1-15 team and be anointed as the leader as soon as he walks into that door? You got to be kidding me. Some of this stuff makes absolutely no sense. Another thing that doesn't seem to make sense to me is, how's James Robinson co-starters with Carlos Hyde? What did he do wrong? Or what has Carlos Hyde done to earn the right to be a co-starter with James Robinson? I don't know where this comes from on this depth chart. Are you trying to make people happy? Are you trying to pretend that there's some open competition? I don't know. It just all seems kind of weird to me, man. But we're going to talk about the running back position. And the weird part about all of this is folks kind of thought that when we were going to deal with the running back position, that they were worried about Travis Etienne taking those reps, and because he's a first-round pick, that they were somehow going to name him the starter. No, Etienne's listed third. Well, technically second, because there's 2 guys tied for first string. But you guys know what I mean. He's listed at third on the depth chart. Let's get into all of that. We're going to talk about, are you starting to get a little bit fatigued with this? It almost seems like a game now. And I guess that's the danger of being invited in to this process, and this process being so transparent. I don't know, man. It's a head scratcher, as you see me scratching my head. So let's get to it in our second segment. Let's talk about the running backs and the difference between the 3 and why, if I was James Robinson, I'd probably be a little bit upset. I'll do it in just a second here on a Thursday edition of Locked On Jaguars after I tell you about rockauto.com. You got to know about them right now. They are our show sponsor today. But with the ever-increasing of numbers of makes and models of vehicles, it's now impossible for your local chain auto parts store to stock all the parts you need. Even if you go to the dealer of the actual vehicle manufacturer, sometimes they don't have those parts. You do not have that problem with rockauto.com. Now, here's why. Because you're going to save time and money when using Rock Auto, first and foremost, and that's important. There's no reason for you to spend 30, 50, or even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or a car dealership. You know, Rock Auto is a family-owned business, you know, so they understand how important your money is to your everyday life for the safety and for just the proper transport of you and your family. So you need good parts, right? They got them all. And they've been serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. The prices are reliably low for every customer, whether you're a professional or not. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Write Locked On in that little box that you're going to see when they ask you, how did you hear about us? Make sure you put Locked On in there so they know that we sent you. So it's amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need are at rockauto.com. All right, man. So we're talking about the team, the running backs. We're talking about the depth chart, the unofficial depth chart that came out a couple of days ago that still had Gardner Minshew or Trevor Lawrence listed as the starter, that still had James Robinson or Carlos Hyde listed as the starter, with first-round pick Travis Etienne as your third option. It's going to take a while for me, and I've been trying to explain that Urban just wanted to be more explosive, and in his first year, I did not think they needed to do the need thing. I thought they needed to do the talent thing, because in the draft, that is, because when you're 1-15, you just need to get the best players, right? You don't need to be worried about filling a need, because if you start filling needs on a 1-15 team, you're going to be there all day. You're 1-15 because you pretty much need everything. And even the parts of your team that you thought were okay probably aren't. They're probably just a little more adequate than the rest of them, because 1-15, there's only one place you can go that's worse than that, and that's 0-16, right? So for me, one of the things that I've been trying to battle is beefing with or telling people why they took Travis Etienne at running back. So it's all about adding explosiveness. And I got to tell you this now, and I got to preface this by saying this, I have to warn myself. When you draft guys, it doesn't mean that they're going to be ready to go right away. All right? You don't necessarily draft in 2021 for 2021. However, when 2020 was 1-15 and you draft high for 2021, you kind of think that those guys are going to play. It's not as if you're adding these guys to a team that won 9 games or a team that won 11 or 12 games. Those teams have the luxury of drafting. They can draft for right now. They can say, no, we need this, and he's there. Boom, we're ready to go. We're close. But they also can choose to draft for the future. A lot of successful teams have done it. They just draft the most talented players and just say, you know what, in a couple of years we'll need him, and then boom, they plug him in. But every team is unique and every team is different. And that goes back to every team is also unique and every team is also different off the field in terms of marketing, in terms of identity, in terms of where we're going here is they've been selling these young guys. They've sold the young guys. You can't sell people on billboards that's going to be on the bench. James Robinson was one of those young guys last year who was the brightest light on this team. He's in the top 100. Even though he's number 100, he's still there, right? So if he's top 100, Carlos Hyde has kind of bounced around a little bit. I always thought he was better than most people thought. And of course, the GM and the coach, and the offense coordinator are very familiar with him. But how does he come in here and all of a sudden be considered a co-starter with James Robinson? Is it all just semantics? Or is it really a situation where he's listed as a co-starter? Is that what you had to tell him to get him to sign here? Because he's already signed. You don't have to keep saying it. James Robinson should be the sole starting running back on this team. What have you seen or not seen from him or seen from somebody else that will tell you otherwise? And if he's not, why isn't that other guy, Travis Etienne, the guy you picked in the first round? Because at some point, no matter how many excuses guys like me try to make for you and say, well, he wanted to add speed, so he added speed. He added an element to this team that wasn't here. Got it. Trevor was a no-brainer, but he doesn't necessarily have to rush him because we want Trevor to be here for the next 15 years, not just worried about this year. Got it. The only reason you don't play Trevor right now is because you think your offensive line isn't ready and you don't want to get him hurt. But that was the position that you said was the one that when you inherited it, you didn't say it, but you kind of indicated that you thought that part of the team was okay. You retained George Warhop, the coach. You barely addressed it in free agency if you did at all, and you used a second-round pick on Walker Little. after you franchise Cam Robinson, there hasn't much been done on that offensive line to make me think that you think it's not a position of strength. Why would you not play Trevor? And if Trevor is this generational guy that you say he is, and all of us believe he is, how come he can't beat out Gardner Minshew, who wouldn't start anywhere else in the league right now? I think the games, playing these games is over. If I was James Robinson, I'd be like, hey, man, I've done every single thing you guys have asked me to do. I play well. I practice well. I keep my head down. That dude has been overcoming this stuff forever. And now he has to be considered the co-running back with a guy who's not – Carlos Hyde's a good player. But he's not even Travis Etienne. He's not even a guy you picked number one with the 25th pick in the draft. I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Maybe after this weekend's game, we can have something else to talk about because those decisions will have been made and they'll start making more sense. But I'm going to tell you when this stuff is going to start biting them in the butt. When it seems like you're more worried about these things and good speeches and appearance, I'm telling you, I've seen it so many times in the past. We can talk about playing fast, playing hard, playing. This is not who we're going to be. We're going to be this best of the best. We're going to play fast. We're going to get the best of the best. We're going to have the strength and condition. We're going to do all of that stuff. And all of these guys that do these nice interviews, it goes away if you don't win. It goes away. It looks like you're making points of emphasis on everything else except winning games. And trust me, the vultures are circling. That's what they do to Jacksonville. If you new here and you don't know it and you don't understand it, the vultures is the national media. The vultures, they carry those narratives around with them, and they're all ready to drop every single cliche on this city. So that's why I think the fans are a little bit upset, and that's why I'm not really upset, and I'm letting it play itself out. But it is kind of frustrating because we keep defending stuff. We're tired of defending stuff, especially when it's stuff that we actually have questions about too, and we just don't get it and don't understand. Let's look at the overall depth chart, especially those linebackers. Now that Joe Schobert is gone, are the Jaguars good enough at that position? There's some trouble the other day with those screen passes and stopping those running backs and those tight ends, and those are the things that will absolutely kill you and destroy you and prevent you from being able to get off the field on third down. That's going to be critical for me this season. We're going to talk about it in the third and final segment here on a Thursday of Locked On Jaguars. You need to know about BetOnline, though, and BetOnline is that time of year and all eyes are now turning to football as teams are back on the gridiron to start the football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all the pro and college football action this season. Get all the updated odds, props, and contests, including the $500,000 NFL mega contest and the $200,000 NFL Survivor contest open now at BetOnline. Head to the website to use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 100% welcome bonus. You heard me, a 100% welcome bonus. Be sure to take advantage of their opening day super promo. Make a bet on the Thursday, September 9th season opener between the Super Bowl champion Bucks and the team that they claim is America's team, the Dallas Cowboys. And if you lose, your wager will be refunded up to $25. Because BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports events. Remember, your promo code to take advantage of that great promo is Locked On. Make sure you get over there to BetOnline, your online sportsbook experts. All right. Final segment here on a Thursday. Listen, man, I'm not crying. I'm not belly aching, right? But I'm starting to see those articles that we all dislike so bad. Nobody wants to sit here and have to constantly defend the decisions that are made. And I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna go back through them real quick. The strength and conditioning coach decision, that was one that people. There have been other coaches that have left. That was one. The choice to think that you could recruit players during free agency and got off to a very, very slow start for some high-name guys. That's another. Getting Tim Tebow in here, and while it wasn't a tremendous distraction, there were 2 or 3 days where it gave us a whole bunch of stuff to talk about. We probably could have been talking about something else. That's fine. We're in the business of creating traffic. I get it. We talked about him when he got here. We talked about him once camp started. Now we talked about him now that he got cut. There's just all of these little, not naming Trevor Lawrence the starter, not looking like you wanted to look at the first preseason game, and saying that the coaches want to do this, you want to do this, but you're like, why can't we do it? It endeared him to fans, the fact that he wanted to do it, and it kind of made the coaches look like they're trying to do the right thing. But it also could look, if you're a real hardcore fan, it could look a little bit disjointed that you guys didn't have that figured out before the game started. You know? So if you had it figured out before the game started, it should have been, well, yeah, we know what we're doing. We're going to look vanilla right now. Not, I wanted to do this and they did this. See, now it's starting to, if people want to start analyzing stuff and start dropping some of those bombs and those narratives, those vultures I'm talking about, you're kind of giving them a little bit of ammunition. So where we at on the depth chart? I want to talk about the linebacker position. We talked about the defensive line yesterday. Now, of course, we know that Myles Jack is the man at the weak side linebacker spot. And we know that Josh Allen is considered the edge at the linebacker spot, right? And we know the Sam linebacker, at least for the start of the season, is going to be Kayvon Chason. I got a feeling, though, if Kayvon's not playing as well as they want him to play, what's going to happen is you're going to see a lot of Lorente McCray. Now, I initially thought that it would be Dewan Smoot, but we've seen that where they're running, they're playing Dewan Smoot at defensive tackle in this scheme, so especially in their nickel. So where we are is that's what we're looking at. We're looking at those guys along with inside linebacker Damian Wilson. I think they believe the depth is cool with guys like Dakota Allen and of course Quincy Williams playing behind Myles Jack. Shaq Quarterman, who everybody knows how I feel about Shaq. He made a good play on special teams the other day on kickoff return. I think that's going to be a key. He's also changed. He looks a little quicker than he used to look. And I think it's going to be a key, and I think we're going to have to watch him in these preseason games to see if he's going to be able to provide that quality depth. Also, I'm excited about Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith already has a meme. He actually regurgitated on the field during the fourth quarter when they were on the field constantly for a long time. And it just so happened that a great cameraman caught the angle of Jordan just letting it all go. But he didn't stop playing. He kept playing. So I'm a little bit excited about him, too, and the prospects of what he can do later on in the year. But it's going to be critical, man, because I hope the defense was just a little bit caught off guard by some of those passes out of the backfield because Cleveland was playing backups. If that's Kareem Hunt or Nick Chubb or perhaps the starting tight end in Cleveland and Baker, that's a problem. That's a problem. Nothing will disappoint you more than on 3rd and 6, there's a wide open running back in the flat and he runs for 15 yards. That's how you don't get off the field. So there's going to be a lot of pressure on these linebackers. Everyone is so intent on making sure that the Jaguars can stop the run. One of the things that they also need to be focused on is how do they stop the short pass, because those short passes will make you absolutely sick if you can't stop those running backs and if you can't stop those tight ends in that short middle of the field, and even the drag routes that will be run by the wide receivers. It'll be frustrating that teams will be able to do catch and run and get a lot of first downs. What won't be frustrating for you is betting on these games. And the reason why it won't be frustrating is because you'll be listening to the Locked On Bets podcast that's going to prepare you before you go on Bet Online. It's the new podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Sterling. Get daily picks, blowout specials, wrong team favorite picks, and Lee Sterling's lock of the day. Follow the Locked On Bets podcast brought to you by betonline.ag, wherever you get podcasts. That's it for today, man. That's our show for Thursday. I appreciate you guys tuning in on YouTube also and subscribing and seeing my ugly mug every day. And thank you also to my loyal listeners on all of the podcast streaming services, wherever you get your podcast. It's Locked On, man. We'll be here. We have a show tomorrow. And then I'm going to see if I can get Ross Jackson on Monday to talk about the Saints-Jaguars game that'll be nationally televised on Monday night. Until then, you guys do what I always say do. Please take care of each other and keep looking out for one another. We got some tough times, man, but we'll make it. All we got to do is stick together. All right, that's it. T-Wig out for Locked On Jaguars. Arrivederci, sayonara, all of that good stuff. See you tomorrow here on